All right, for the recording, welcome back. We are Nagarjuna Investigators. This is July 17th, 2024. Let's gather our minds here as we usually do. Please bring your attention to your breath until you hear from me again. Now bring to mind that being who for you is a manifestation of ultimate love, ultimate compassion, ultimate wisdom. And see them there with you. They are gazing at you with their unconditional love for you. Smiling at you with their holy great compassion. Their wisdom radiates from them. That beautiful golden glow encompassing you in its light. And then we hear them say, bring to mind to someone you know who's hurting in some way. Feel how much you would like to be able to help them. Recognize how the worldly ways we try fall short. How wonderful it will be when we can also help them in some deep and ultimate way, a way through which they will go on to stop their distress forever. We're learning how that is possible. And so I invite you to grow that wish into a longing. And thinking of karma and emptiness, grow that longing into an intention. And with that high intention, turn your mind back to your own precious guide. We know that they know what we need to know, what we need to learn yet, what we need to do yet to become one who can help this other in this deep and ultimate way. And so we ask them, please, please teach us that. And they are so happy that we've asked. Of course, they agree. Our gratitude arises. We want to offer them something exquisite. And so we think of the perfect world they are teaching us how to create. We imagine we can hold it in our hands and we offer it to them, following it with our promise to practice what they teach us using our refuge prayer. Here is the great earth, filled with fragrant incense and covered with the blanket of flowers. The great mountain, lands, wearing the jewel of the sun and the moon. In my mind, I make them the paradise of a Buddha and offer it all to you. By this deed, may every living being experience the pure world. Idam Guru Ratna Mandala Kam Niryatayami. I go for refuge until I am enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the highest community. Through the merit that we do in sharing this investigation and the rest, may we reach Buddhahood for the sake of every living being. I go for refuge until I am enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the highest community. Through the merit that we do in this investigation and the rest, may we reach Buddhahood for the sake of every living being. I go for refuge until I am enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the highest community. Through the merit that we do in sharing in this investigation and the rest, may all beings reach their total awakening for the benefit of every single other. All right. Okay, do you see Arya Nagarjuna's root text wisdom up there on the screen? Okay. All right, let's dig in. Janet, you are the first on my screen today. Will you do the opening down to Teenage Boy, please?
Here I have made a song for you on the very root of the middle way, which I call wisdom. In the language of India, this text is called Prajna Nama Mula Madhyamaka Karika. In the language of Tibet, it is known as Uma Zewe Sekula Jepa Sherip. In English, we call it wisdom, a song on the root of the middle way. I bow down to Manjushri, the glorious, gentle voice in his guise as a teenage boy.
Thank you. Elsie, 1.1, please.
No, I don't see your sharing.
Oh, you don't see it?
Yeah.
You don't see the share at all?
No, we
No.
see it.
I don't. I'm wondering why.
We saw it.
Yeah, we saw it.
Yeah.
You can go to the gallery view, or just maybe there's the view setting on the top right.
Ah,
of
right.
your-
Okay.
Yay.
Now I see it. Sorry. Okay. I bow down to that highest of teachers, to the fully enlightened one, who teaches us to reach that peace where our fantasies about how things exist are put to a final rest.
And Choi, 1.2, please. Choi, 1.2, please.
Thank you, Chair. I bow to the one who taught us that things happen in dependence. Nothing ends and nothing begins. Nothing stops, but nothing ever lasts forever. Nothing comes and nothing goes. No two things are different, nor are any two the same.
What dependence is Arya Nagarjuna talking about? When things happen in dependence.
From their own side. From itself, the things itself.
So he's saying things happen from themselves.
He's refuting that.
Right, he's refuting that.
He's saying, well, they have an empty nature. They have dependent origination, and they change. And he somehow wants us to analyze everything that way. That's why we did the 5 aggregates. He wanted us to see that everything has an empty nature, but they also all change. And then they have dependent origination. Do they?
Right,
I mean,
well,
that's what he's saying.
right. But so if I asked you, you know, what does your car depend upon? What would we say? Depends on the metal, it depends on the parts, it depends on, you know, my having bought it. It depends. I know things happen in dependence. What's so profound about that? But then he goes, no, well, nothing ends, nothing begins. What has that got to do with happening in dependence? Nothing starts, nothing ever lasts forever. Nothing comes.
Sorry.
nothing-
Sorry, teacher, I tried again. Just now I misunderstood. So actually things happen in dependence, which means that the dependence upon each other. I mean in a way that depends on whatever we have planted. So, and then this one is true after we have planted, then through the seed, then it will project out.
Right.
Yeah. So yes, just now I misunderstood. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So things happen in dependence upon karma. Why doesn't he say that?
Because he's going to refute that too.
Yeah, he is. You're right. It got me. You know, I keep catching myself when I see the word independence. I believe that I know what he's talking about. But when I'm catching my gut reaction to things happen in dependence, I automatically am thinking, you know, I know everything depends on something else. But that's not what we're talking about here. I realized I forgot to take my inhaler this morning, as if that would make any difference. Things happen in dependence upon the way the perceiver is experienced the things happening in dependence upon other things. Right, so we're not saying no, cars don't come from metal and parts and my buying it. We're saying that all of that came from something else. And so when things happen in dependence, it's like you keep looking at what you think things depend upon and find that, well, the only reason I'm seeing it that way is because it's coming out of me. And it comes back again to my seeds, my behavior, right? The way I've imprinted my mind. But then even that we're saying we're thinking is working in some self-existent way. I'm so sorry. So anyway, I just wanted to point that out to my own mind, that when it says things happen in dependence and I think, oh yeah, I know, to remind myself, it's like, no, the dependence he's talking about here is this process that we call karma, that is not itself a thing, independent of the process we call karma. Okay. Sorry. GL, please, 1.3.
Thank you, teacher. Nothing grows from itself, nothing grows from something else. Nothing grows from both, and nothing grows without a cause. There's nothing at all that grows at all.
Right. Oops. Come on. Move us over here. Make us a little bigger. All right, do we see chapter 13? Somebody tell us how we got to chapter 13, an analysis of things that produce other things. While I choke, somebody else take over, please.
Well, the thing that I remember is that Kachik was saying, I have pain, so I must exist. And I exist so much that I'm the producer of things, kind of thing. And then we are looking into produced things and how they work. I'm not sure if this is correct. Sorry.
Okay, maybe I just add on. I took some notes last time. Yeah, it says that all the causes of pain, not from me at the moment and not from others, cannot be both, because two negative cannot create something, and there's no nature of suffering. Your suffering proves that there is a self-exist me, and my suffering is a result. And you talk about the produced thing, the me that is doing thing. And apply first to the functioning things, then me as the functioning thing. Suffering does not prove you exist, but I need to be there to experience the pain. And I'm doing stuff, that's why it proves that I exist. And how do we prove that we do things? I mean, we have to be here to do things, right? So, so I think teacher tap on the teacup, and it says that our job is to purify ourselves, and then we'll purify them as I see, to uplift to a higher view. Oh, that's something I take. Janet, you want to add on anything? Always impressed by Janet's note.
Well, Joanna was asking us what we did, and I was trying to review that. And we were trying to get through the produced things. And then they use like the yogurt. And so where does our suffering get produced? Where does the Lama Sarani's coughing get produced? Where does all that get produced? And so theoretically, it's our past actions that are producing things. So this is the mind only. This is the middle way, that things are coming from our own side.
So would you please quit creating my cough? Thank you very much. You can say the same to me, right? Will you quit creating your cough? Crying out loud, it's driving us nuts. I know, I'm so sorry. Oh, yeah. So that previous sequence of chapters, we keep hearing, none of it has a nature of its own. Actually, none of it has any nature. Right? We add the of its own to make it a little more comfortable. But to use Nagarjuna's words, nothing has any nature of its own. Nothing starts, nothing stops, nothing, right, grows, nothing. And we follow his logic in each of the chapters, and we come to the conclusion. And then our Mr. Kachikos, yeah, but, and we got to that sequence where apparently we were starting to see that he's really talking about our own subject side self-nature that we believe we have. He's not actually saying it outright so much, but And we start doing this, I do so exist because, right? And because we think when he says has no nature, Joanna, you have no nature at all. It sounds like I'm saying you don't really exist. You're just a figment of your imagination. Well, actually, you're just a figment of my imagination. And it's like, well, wait a minute. Which one am I? Which one are you? Which, right, if we're Arya Nagarjuna investigators, we go, now, wait a minute. Which one am I? And if we're not Arya Nagarjuna investigators, we go, wait a minute, I am not your projection. I am me. Right? And if you see me different than I see me, that's your problem. Right? If we're investigators, we go, wait a minute, how can that be? If we're not investigators, we go, you know, you don't like me, that's your problem. And so there was that sequence where I do so exist because actually it starts with things do exist because there are things I desire and things I don't desire. Right? The desire, my desire for the apricot is because the apricot has deliciousness inside of it. And he goes, shows us how, well, in fact, that's not true. And then, yeah, but I still have desire or dislike. And that's when we're starting to recognize that he's pointing out that the thing you call the I that desires the apricot and just desires the desire. And then, right, as it gets more subtle, he's saying, look, where is that you with your own self nature that is experiencing that? I either have to be there, I have to be there first for all that stuff to happen. And when we say I have to be there first, it means there's a me that I believe has some nature of its own in it, from it, that I still know is constantly changing, and there's a disconnect right there. And that me wants stuff, wants to avoid stuff, etc. So as we're starting to subtly feel threatened by our aha about the no nature of all these other things that we've been going through in all the chapters, causes, pleasures, and pain, things that the desire that I have, the heaps, all of that, our self-nature, me, is grasping at straws to confirm itself as real in the way that it believed. Because when it hears you have no nature, it automatically thinks that means I don't exist at all. So it's natural and healthy for our self-existent me to come out fighting, because that's what's going to help us recognize that it's just this phantom, right, of eons of misunderstanding. And it actually doesn't have to feel the least bit threatened when it realizes that it's anyway, when it realizes it isn't, right? It's not that it's actually something that disappears, because it was never there in the first place. But let's not go there yet. So our sequence was, I do so have my own nature, meaning I do so exist because I suffer, I have pain. I have to be here first for that thing to happen to me. No, Nagarjuna says that doesn't, yes, things happen to you. Yes, you have pain, but that doesn't prove that you have to be there first with your own nature for those things to happen to you. Because you can't find the actual moment it happens, and you can't find the actual place it happens. But it happens. It does happen. So we follow that chapter 12. And our Kachik still says, okay, if that didn't work, right? I do so exist because I suffer. That didn't work. I do so exist because I do stuff. I can interact with something in my world and affect a change. That means I have to be here first, to have the idea to do it, to have the ability to go do it. And then I do it. And then there's this change. And see, Nagarjuna, I do exist because I can effect change. And Nagarjuna's answer to that is not, that doesn't prove that you exist the way you think you do, which we wish he would say that. He says, as the conqueror has stated, anything which misleads us is to be called deceptive. And since all things that produce are things which mislead us, thus they are deceptive. So we've just said, I do so exist because I produce things. And he's just said, well, the Buddha said, all things that produce other things are deceptive. What? You just told me I'm deceptive? I think, what's your reaction to somebody saying, Joanna, you are deceptive? I don't know, I'd be insulted, right? What? I'm not trying to deceive you. So what does your mind say, your Mr. Kachik say, when you apply just this opening statement to our statement, I do so exist because I do stuff. Well, you know, the conqueror said anything that misleads us is deceptive. It's a subtle piece, but it's kind of important for this whole chapter. What is the difference between deceptive reality and ultimate reality in our training? Janet.
Yeah. Okay.
Emptiness?
Deceptive reality is the thing that we think is have self nature.
Okay, and ultimate reality is?
And ultimate reality is that I think when we see emptiness, right, we're seeing how things come from our own seeds, is it?
Well, technically, seeing how things come from our own seeds is the highest deceptive reality. And
It's
ultimate reality is the fact that nothing exists in any other way than that,
Oh, okay.
right? So we call it emptiness. But again, if we just react to the word emptiness, right? To me, it's like the 30 years I've been studying emptiness is really helpful, because without that, I'd think emptiness just means, you know, empty the glass out and there's nothing there. And it's true, there's nothing there, but that's not what emptiness means. So when we say things are deceptive, we're deceived. The things aren't deceptive. Our own mind is what's deceived because our mind believes that the self and the other and the what's happening all have their identities and qualities in them, and we are all coming together in some way for some reason, you know, based on causes and conditions and parts and all of that. And it's called deceptive because we are not seeing that as results of our own past behavior. We're not seeing it as projections. And so we're deceived by everything that we don't experience as projections. But it's so hard to wrap our mind around that. You know, it's like, well, if the problem is something that I'm not doing, how do I stop doing something I'm not doing to get it right? I never did figure that one out. So deceptive, you're driving along and you see water, you know, out on the other side of the road. And you know the area, and it's like, there's no water there. It didn't rain. How'd that water get there? And then think your perception of it shifts and you go, oh, it's a mirage. Wow, cool. That's the neatest thing, to see a mirage in the desert. Because, you know, I went by one in the Wilcox Plaza, and there was this big lake of water, and there were cows standing knee deep in it. And I'm, you know, driving, so I can't just stare at it. I'm looking at it, and it's like, why would those cows be standing in that water? And it took, you know, several instances to go, oh, that's a mirage. And I looked back and the water was gone. The cows were standing in the dirt, you know. And it's like, whoa, man, I wished I could have pulled over and sat down on my meditation cushion at that moment. It was so clear that the reality of the water was water. But what I was seeing was a mirage. Not water, but something, the image of water. So now apply that to your, whatever our example we're using, you know, my car, turning the key to start the car. Man, it looks like there's water over there. No, it wasn't water, it was mirage. There's car. No, there's not car, it's mirage of car. Does that make the car not real? It made the water not real. So it does make the car not real, but does it make the car disappear? No. The mirage was there. The car is the mirage. It's not the water. The car is the mirage. Why is it a mirage? Because it's coming out of my karmic results of past behavior that makes it come out of parts and causes and conditions and my having bought it and all that. And so when we're saying things are my projections, we're not saying that negates all the worldly interdependence. That's where all the worldly interdependence comes from. Okay? Deceptive means we think their identities and qualities are in them, but in fact, our experience of them is what gives them those qualities, those identities and qualities. And then you take one step back from that and we go, yeah, but the me. Yep, okay, so the me is doing all of that. And it's like, well, we look at that piece too. Can we experience a me experiencing the mirage car independent of the experiencing the mirage car? If there's a me that's there first, that then does something like turn the key to start the car, then I should be able to experience a me starting the car independent of me starting the car. And I can experience a memory of starting a car, which isn't actually starting the car. And I might use that to confirm, see, there is a me. But again, Nagarjuna would say, but that you can't exist independent of that experience of you, right? Can you experience a you independent of some experience? No, right? Okay. So I do so exist because I do stuff. Anything that leads us is called deceptive, and things that do stuff are things which mislead us. Do we agree with that? I've got 2 nods, yes. I'm sorry, I've been ignoring some hands up. So sorry, being so selfish. Kongli, you had your hand up a while ago.
And I just want to ask, just not teacher, you are saying that, you know, we see mirage. And I just wondering, cows see mirage or not? I mean, is it just only asked, and then this one does not apply to cow?
Right. Was the cow standing in water when I was seeing them stand in water?
No. It's in mud, isn't it? Just why
Yeah.
you're saying
No,
that
it
they are
wasn't even
standing.
mud. It was
Is it?
dust. There was no water there. It hadn't rained in months.
Sorry.
So now, as I'm driving down the road, there's other cars, there's other drivers. Aren't I also assuming that they're all seeing that mirage? Do I have any reason to believe that, know that that's true? No. But when you, like when I hear myself say that, it's like, all right, that's confirmation that I'm the only one that really exists. Because I'm the only one that experiences my experiences, and everybody else's experiences are different. And I can't really know what they are. And so I'm the only real thing. So I am the most important thing in my world. Thank you very much. Versus the actual conclusion of, oh my gosh, right? Everybody's experiencing things unique to them. That's extraordinary. Yeah, anyway. Yes,
Sorry,
Elsie.
my line.
Oh yeah, we lost you.
Lama, I'm also thinking about the mirage thing. So would it be would my way of thinking be correct if the mirage that you saw at the desert is just a small seed ripening in a very short span of time, whereas the mirage of us seeing us buying, owning, and starting a car is a series of seeds that ripen together or in sequence. Then that is what is actually happening in our daily lives.
Right. Right, yes. It's all like seeing a mirage, seeing water, and then realizing it's a mirage. Right? We're moving through life like we're seeing water and believing water is there. And then as we study these things, we realize, oh, as I'm looking at the water with the cow standing in it, I'm knowing it's a mirage. I'm still seeing it as real water, but I'm knowing it's as a mirage. Right, so we're trying to get to that place where we can experience our world and know that it's our seeds ripening, to use our way of saying it, and not needing it to look any different. At first, it's an intellectual adding to the picture, and eventually it will be an actual experience, like a one-time experience. That is that state we call chuchok. But then as we use our new wisdom that comes after that, we reach a point where we are directly aware that everything is whatever we mean by our seeds ripening, right? When we reach that 8th level bodhisattva, everything's coming out of our seeds and everything's being replanted. We're not omniscient yet, but we're experiencing subject-object interaction between, as the seed ripening thing going on. And so from that state of awareness, there are no more mental afflictions. Not just because we burn them all off, right, is the way we understand the process, but because we don't misunderstand things anymore. Can yucky stuff still happen? Yes, King of Kalinka's story. That was pretty yucky for that yogi, that nirvana-sized yogi, to get his appendages cut off. But no mental affliction of it, right? Because he was experiencing it in this vastly different way. Not just, oh, I know this is my karma ripening, like intellectual. It was his deep experience, like, well, all right, this is what's coming next. Didn't suffer from it. Did he have pain? Yes. Did he suffer from it? No. Yes, Jill.
Teacher, talking about the mirage. You mentioned about the car. That's an interesting topic. And now I think about it. What about our house and everything? So theoretically, in reality, it should be a mirage also, right?
Right.
And like what Elsie mentioned, which means that we do have a lot of good karma to continuing experiencing and have a comfortable place to stay, and this karma is just continues, right?
Right, that's right. Our mirages are lasting a really long time. Thank goodness, right?
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Yucky mirages can last a long time too. I hope
Yeah.
they don't for anybody. Yes, Joanna.
You said that the mirage is an image, and this was the short ripening, so it was a seed that wasn't lasting long enough. The cows were lasting longer,
Yeah,
so it's the same kind of image. And I
right,
was just thinking that if the mirage is like the glitch, it's showing us that there is something not really existing as we think it does.
right.
So it would be actually, I think, a nice, or I take pleasure in that things are steady and seemingly steady and taking long time in my life to perceive them same way. But if everything would be the glitch, I would know I'm deceived all the time, and I would go for it. So I'm actually not sure myself if it's if I should say we are lucky that it lasts longer, the things that are steady to be seen as the same thing, or if it would be cooler to have mirage and then like, oh, it wasn't what I thought. Oh, it wasn't what I thought. So
Right.
I like to have more glitches, but I'm not living in the desert.
Right. I have another similar one. I think I've told you this one before. We went into this little cafe and it looked to be, a medium-sized cafe. And we sat down and we were having our whatever. And, I get to looking around and I'm looking at all the people. And then I look far enough and it's like, hey, wait, that's me and David. This wall was a mirror. And until I hit the, hey, wait, that's me, I didn't know it was a mirror. I thought the room was that size, double the size. And then all of a sudden, the room was half the size. There were half the number of people. Right? It was a like this glitch, right? It wasn't a glitch. And then it became a glitch and now it's reality. Oh, that's what it really was. I was mistaken. Or I'm still mistaken. But those little instances give us clues to what, middle way is trying to help us reach a better understanding of our moment by moment experience of what we believe is the real thing. And that the mirages are just those, weird physics glitches. No, we're living in a mirage.
So next time we are refurbishing our houses, we can deceive ourselves from deceived reality by implanting mirrors everywhere.
That's right. That's right. Until you know it's a mirror there, right? Until you know there's no water there. Once you know there's no water there, you really can't even see the mirage anymore. Then you see the mirage. You see? First you see water. Then you realize it's a mirage. And then you can't not see the mirage even when you see the water still. So you'd have to have somebody else redo your house with mirrors and you not know it. Deceptive. So why do we want to know about that? I do so exist because I do stuff, remember? Let's go on. I really, really, really want to get to the meditation. So, Janet, this is verse 2.
If something is misleading us, what can mislead the deception? The conqueror has taught us this when he taught us emptiness.
So why does learning about emptiness mislead the deception?
Well, in theory, we're not to be lazy, but we're supposed to analyze the situation and take the time, even if we're exhausted and we don't know how and we have no time. We're supposed to analyze the mirage and figure out that it's really a deception. When we're driving by and we're late to our appointments and we're very tired and we've had no coffee. And we're supposed to take the time to analyze what's going on. And we probably can't do it with everything, but we're supposed to do it with the really important things.
So when we analyze, what do we come up with? Just a void? Nothing exists at all.
Well, because we've been taking classes where they've been doing it for us.
Yeah.
There's dependent origination. There's the empty true nature. There's the changing nature of things, and then the two other things is our habituation, and then things exist in name only.
Yeah.
Do they really exist in name only? But according to Papanka Rinpoche, they do.
Joanna.
Well, I was thinking of the example that my favorite music is not my son's favorite music, and some people fall in love with each other, and another one is asking why do you think this guy or girl is so special? So I mean, we have so different perspectives on things, and that's for me somehow in this verse it could be an example in showing us that things are not the way for everybody as I see them.
Right. 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 That's my favorite way of getting to what's meant by emptiness is, if there's two different conscious beings that can perceive any given thing in a different way, what does that say about the thing I think is there? It's there unique to me, which means it's here unique to you, which means the nature I think it has in it has to be available to be different for you than for me. I don't actually go to the it has no nature at all. I go to, well, okay, this pen can be perceived differently by you than by me, but it's enough to decrease my judgment about you and what you do with this thing. And then if I do as Janet says, analyze it a little bit further, it's like, oh, I can't really even call it a pen because, the dog doesn't see it as a pen. Even if I teach the dog to think of this thing when I say pen, it doesn't mean the dog's mind is conceiving of this thing as a pen the way I'm conceiving it when I say pen. That would mean our little dog knew, like I could say, Megan, go get your sock. She had a sock with a knot in it that was her chew toy, right? Megan, where's your sock? And she'd go, my sock? She'd go find it, and bring it to me. But she didn't know it was David's old sock with a knot in it. It was her chew toy. And we called it your sock. Like that sound, your sock. And she knew what that meant. Oh, ooh, okay, time to play. And I think she knew what a sock was. Right? That's dumb. Because I just never thought it through. Why did I ask that question? Why am I telling you about my dog's sock?
Because things exist in name only.
Right. Okay, then. Things exist in name only. Here is the beautiful new white blouse that Roxana brought to me yesterday. it's not. I just can't put a name on something and make it be the something. Things don't exist in name only. This is a Kleenex, like a used one, by the way. But what does it mean in name only? In label only. All right. Let's label this breakfast. No thanks.
So which means the name or the label that we give it is very personal.
Right.
Right.
Right. Right.
It's according
You-
to us only.
Right. Unique to me. But it doesn't mean I can just make it up, does it?
Yeah, because some other people will have the same seed, but they would tend to see it, they tend to name it in a different way.
Right.
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 So we would tend to have a common name as based on the common seeds we would have.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Can any two beings experience one object in identical ways?
No,
No.
even
Can
if
you experience any given thing in an identical way of how you've experienced it before?
no,
No. Like portal to emptiness, independent origination.
Mhm.
Do we think we experience things the same way over and over?
Yes,
Yes.
we do.
Deception, mirage, right? Water, water. When it is mirage, let's put it that way. So I go back to why is it that Buddha teaching emptiness misleads the deception? What does the emptiness mean that makes us go, oh, it's mirage, not water? We were dancing around it just now. We've got it. We just want it to be a little more succinct.
The ununiqueness
Yeah,
of experiences.
right. To understand the empty nature of subject-object interaction between shows that any subject-object interaction between experience that I have is unique to me. I bring it to the party. Which is the opposite of our deceptive reality. Deceptive reality is where we believe that everything else brings themselves to the party. And I'm just the recipient of it all. Emptiness shows that no, in fact, I'm a unique and integral, necessary establisher of that experience. Emptiness is what can mislead the deception. Okay, let's go on. Oh no, it's break time. Let's take a break. You are screen sharing. I thought I stopped the screen sharing. All right, recording, you're going to run for a little while. Just leave it.
Dear Lama Sarani, are we going to have class next week? Are you still here next week? Yes, you are. Okay. So one to go? One. Okay. Thank you.
All right, are we back? Okay. So let's plow on. What can mislead the deception? Emptiness. And then he says, so Joanna, would you read for us? This is 13.3.
Yes, thank you. Things that perform a function can have no essential nature because they appear to change into a different thing. But neither can functioning things lack an essential nature, for these same things have their own emptiness.
You know, it helps me when he says blah, 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 because blah, 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 blah. It always is like, how does this prove that? And I think it's not so much that, but when I think, if Arya Nagarjuna had said, things that perform a function can have no essential nature, period. And why do I say that? Because they appear to change into a different thing. That helps me be able to start working with the verse more than trying to prove like a logical syllogism. That, you know, this is a logical syllogism, but there's like 7 syllogisms in between the conclusion. So we said before, he's using essential nature in 2 different ways here. He's using our deceptive essential nature, and then, how do I say it? More accurate essential nature. A thing that performs its function can't have its identity and function performing quality in it. Why do I say that? Because they change into a different thing. They make something else change into a different thing, and in doing so, the thing changes. So do we even agree with that? I get in my car, I turn the key, and I start it. Have I changed? No, I'm the same me. You know, I haven't changed just by starting my car. And Arya Nagarjuna, if we said that to him, what would he do? Haven't you listened to a thing I've said? Yes, Janet.
So I always see the starting the car as an example of habituation, and that habituation, it helps conserve our energy, but when you change it, it's dangerous. So my clients, because I'm a caregiver, and my clients, my one client was taking her driver's test, and I think she's 89. And so she decided she would drive the car, not her husband, but her husband always drove the car. And that was the change. And because she drove and he didn't drive, he decided that he would hide his keys, glasses, and wallet underneath the pillow. And then he went and did some gardening and he forgot that he did that. And so they canceled the credit cards. And then finally, some child was playing in the children's room where he had hidden them. And he saw the glasses on the ground, and all of a sudden he remembered. So to me, the key in the car example is an example of habituation. And it's something that's only dangerous if it changes. Once you change the habit, then you've made yourself vulnerable to the change. You're no longer in that easy habit anymore. And what do you do? Because we don't have enough energy to like not have habits. But then so we make these habits, and so we're vulnerable. There's nothing we can do. We have these habituated habits that are dangerous once you break the habit.
Right. And they're dangerous for a for someone on the path because they keep us in that comfort zone. So you're absolutely right. It takes energy and awareness and a willingness to go into that danger zone of unexpected and I don't know, that's why it's so hard to make these changes. I totally agree with you. The habit is comforting. And it keeps us in the misperception then. So we would not encourage the people you caregive to get them out of their comfort zone, except in a really safe environment where you would intentionally get them out of their comfort zone to see if you could, right? Wake them up.
Well, I mean, I tell them now, if you put your keys someplace, you got to tell somebody where you put it.
Right.
You can't just hide it someplace. You got to tell one of the caregivers or tell your wife where you put your keys, your car
Right,
key.
exactly. Yeah. Yeah, we intentionally do things the same way to make it easy. I'm not saying that Arya Nagarjuna would be saying, no, put your keys someplace different every single day. I don't think he's saying that. I would suspect that he's saying, every time you go to find your keys in that place that you always put them and you find them there, recognize you're going, of course my keys are there because that's where I put them. Instead, think, wow, my keys are still here, right? I have the seats for my keys again. Thank you very much.
Well, you know, some people who are the type of person will buy new cars. So then they'll have a fob, and then the Tesla, I think, has a card. I've never driven a Tesla, and each system has a different key system. So if
Right.
you're that kind of person and you want like a new phone and you want a new car, that's a whole different thing. And those technology companies want you to buy new things, so they're constantly changing things so that you quote unquote upgrade.
Right.
But
Right.
I'm not, I don't know what I am actually, but I don't buy the newest phone or the newest cars. I'm not
Yeah,
that.
I'm with you. And I actually personally find that I'm resistant, and I just don't want to spend the energy to learn that new stuff. But that's a barrier also, right? I've learned. So it's middle way. So back to this verse. So it's really talking about, I do so exist because I do stuff. And I'm using that to confirm that I have a nature of my own. Because I'm the one who decides to do it. And then I set about to do it and I accomplish doing it. I have to be me, Nagarjuna. I have to have my own nature to be able to do all that. And he says, yeah, but if your own nature is in you, from you, independent of that which you are doing, you couldn't change, right? If your identity is in you, independent of anything else, what could make it change? It's independent. You are you independent. What could make you change? But that's like that we go, no, everything makes me change. Do you see how inconsistent we are? I have my own nature and I'm changing moment by moment. Right? We go, right. Arya Nagarjuna goes, wrong. You can't have your own nature and change moment by moment because something is affecting you to change moment by moment. And that means you don't have your own nature. Does that like drive home and make you go, oh, I see? It doesn't, does it? I do still have my own nature. And yes, things affect me and I change. He goes, come on. But functioning things can't lack an essential nature. Why do I say that? Because these same things have their own emptiness. Emptiness is their essential nature. He's not proving it. He's like stating the fact. Yes, Kong Li.
Yes, teacher. I think here the word essential is very important, isn't it? I mean, essential nature. This means that it's not any nature, but the very essential, is it?
Right. The deepest, corest
Uh-huh.
thing
So,
that you think is
oh,
there.
oh,
The
okay.
deepest core thing you think is there.
Yep.
So does the thing that performs a function have no essential nature at all? No, what is its essential nature? It's lack of self nature, right? It's lack of independent nature. It's lack of being independent is its nature. It's absence of being independent. Independent of what? Independent of David, independent of food, independent of air that I breathe, independent of the thoughts I think.
Independent of the behavior, our behavior seems to
Yeah,
be planned.
independent of behavior, even independent of awareness. Do we think we're independent of awareness? Do we think there's a me that's being aware?
We think so, but
think
it's
yes.
not.
But it can't be, right? All right, let's go on, shall we? I do so exist because I perform functions. Things that mislead us are deceptive. Everything misleads us. Duh. What can override the deception? Emptiness. Things that perform a function can't have their natures inside them because they seem to change. But those things that perform a function, they do have an essential nature, which is their emptiness. Their lack of having their own essential nature is their essential nature. Meaning, are me, I do so exist. So now he's going to dig into that a little bit more, just in case we haven't got it yet. Who's up? Who hasn't read yet? Choi.
So without a nature of its own, what changes into something else with a nature of its own, how could it change to something else?
So he just said, a thing that performs a function cannot have its own nature. But it doesn't have no nature at all. It has the nature of not having its own nature. And we might say, well, if something doesn't, well, somebody says, he says, if something does not have a nature of its own, what is it that changes into something else? If I don't have my own nature, then what is it that goes from today until tomorrow? But if I had my nature of my own independent, of all those things that we just said, what's there to change to something else? Right? If I'm not an existing thing, I wouldn't be emptiness and dependent origination. And when I misperceive, but don't know I'm misperceiving my own nature, and then I hear somebody say, look, you can't have your own nature because everybody experiences you different than you do. And then I might conclude, well, then if there's no me, what's here to change to something else, right? That can't be, because I'm changing, because I'm experiencing myself. I can't not have no nature of my own, right? We're still digging in. There's this really subtle difference between believing I have my nature of my own as a thing that's completely independent of every other factor, and the belief that I have some nature of my own that's independent of my seeds ripening. Like I'm the one from whom the seeds are ripening. And we're really working at that level with Arya Nagarjuna, trying to catch an awareness of this subtle reaction to nature of my own being still there, independent of the process, the one that's making the process happen, as opposed to being able to be in that space of being part of the process, right? Being established by the process. I don't think I'm verbalizing that very well. Without a nature of its own, what changes into something else? With a nature of its own, how could it change into something else? Without a nature of my own, what changes? What does something? But if I have a nature of my own, how could I do anything? Because a nature of my own would mean independent of any other factor, especially independent of seeds ripening, seeds ripening, seeds ripening.
Teacher,
Yes.
yeah, this one I have some kind of thought in me. The first two sentences answer to the previous one without a nature. If let's say there's no nature, milk can change into yogurt. So this this one is without a nature, okay? But with the nature of its own, because the emptiness is the nature. That's why how could it change means that because the essential nature is the emptiness. That's why it could change to something else. So this one, I suppose, I don't know, answer to the previous one, two sentence to the previous two. So this one is, just now I have a,
Yeah.
thing appeared in my mind.
Yeah, nice. So you're saying that if we hear him say things perform functions because they're empty, we would say, well, if emptiness means they don't really exist, like the water in the mirage, there is no water there. If emptiness means that there's really not anything there, the doer, the doing, or the getting it done, then, how can anything work? How can anything happen? If that's what emptiness means, if emptiness means no nature of its own at all, then, how can anything function? But
Okay.
if nature of its own means in it, from it, then how could it do anything?
Okay, because I think the very basic essential nature to everything is emptiness. So that's why, with the name, with the nature of its own, the essential nature of everything is emptiness. Then that's why even though it is with nature of its own, it can change. We see that. Then this one without a nature, which means that without the nature, so because everything is, I mean, two side, both side. So without a nature, that's why milk can change into yogurt. So you get what I mean? Or anyone can say something about it, because this is what I get from this paragraph. You get what I mean?
We're working on what our gut reaction is when we hear no nature of its own. And especially when we apply that to no nature of my own.
Yeah,
And
because
if I'm honest, when I hear that you have no nature of your own, I have this reaction of, what? I am so here. Because there's an automatic something in my consciousness, at least, that hears no nature of my own. It translates into no nature at all. And I'm guessing that when we think emptiness, we're having some similar automatic response to meaning emptiness means nothingness, and it doesn't. Right? Because emptiness depends upon something appearing to be empty. So I think that this is helping to clarify that maybe from the previous verse, we might say, oh, empty things are just seeming like they're doing things, but really it's not happening.
Yeah, kind of like that, because I mean, everything is changing from moment to moment. So that's why this one towards the first one is, because we are changing from moment to moment. So that's why we change, so, from a young to an old person, and then from a new one, so this one is, without a name. I mean, because we are changing from moment to moment.
Well, changing from moment to moment reveals what we're saying about our no true nature. Right? When I hear you explaining, part of my mind says, well, she's saying that things have the nature of changing moment by moment, and that shows that they don't have their own nature. But things changing from moment by moment is the ramification of them having no nature. It's not the thing that makes them have no nature. So, I don't know your mind. I think you probably understand it clearly. And I'm feeling my reaction to your words, which, I really admire. You're doing it in not your own language. But I'm using it to help myself find this nuance that's always the reaction of, well, wait, how can that be? Because I'm still thinking emptiness or appearance, me or other, this or that. And middle way is no, right? Those, right? One or the other, one or the other, one or the other. No, it's like this. Right? Appearance and emptiness, appearance or emptiness, appearance or empty. No, it's like this. You have to have an appearance to be empty. You have to be empty to have an appearance. How does that work? We call it karma. We call it mental seeds. But even when we hear mental seeds, a me having mental seeds, a me having mental seeds. No, right? Middle way. And all these phrases are different nuances for getting to that, oh, right? That's like beyond words.
Doesn't matter. Later, when we go deeper, maybe we can have a new realization.
Yeah. Setting up, no thanks. All right, let's carry on. I have a meditation that's going to take us 20 minutes and we're almost there and we haven't finished the doggone it anyway. Maybe we'll do the meditation next week. Here's 5. Who's up? I'm going to start at the top again. GL.
Thank you, teacher. A thing that really was a thing could never change into another, but neither could it be another thing, because the young cannot grow old, and the old cannot grow old either. Wow, that's confusing.
I was going to say, we already talked about this. Let's go on. But
Okay.
you just said, no, let's don't.
Because the young cannot grow old, and the old can't grow old either.
So he's saying, why do I say that it's a thing that really is a thing can't change into another thing, but it can't like be something else either? It's still itself. I say that because the young can't grow old and the old don't grow old either. In the way that we think. So we talked about it 2 classes ago. I
yeah.
think I'm a me. And I remember being me when I was 10, kind of. And I remember me when I was 15, and I remember me when I was 25. And then I remember me now. And I think it's the same me at the same time as I know that no, I'm completely different at those different stages. So the me that was 10 has not grown old. Right? The me ripening me 10 years old is then me ripening me 11 years old, and then me right? Which me is it that grew old? And then the same for now that I'm old. And I think ahead, I hope someday I'll be functioning this well and be 105. Have I grown old? No. Subject side, ripening, growing old, but not a me growing old. If I have my own self nature, I can't change to another thing. Have I changed from 10 to 70? Absolutely. If I had my own nature, I couldn't change from 10 to 70. If I don't have any nature at all, I can't change from 10 to 70 because I can't be either one. And I don't just bink as a 10-year-old and then bink as an 11-year-old. Although it sure seems like that's what the seed system is saying. I just blink in and out, right? But it's not like I ever become some other's subject side. If I'm a me that really is me, in me, from me, I can't change into another, a different me. But neither could I change into something else. I can't ever be other than my subject side. Can I? Is my subject side ever the same 2 moments in a row? No. Is it ever without a subject side and have an experience? No. Can my subject side ever become your subject side? No. Can my subject side have you as the object side? Yes. Can my subject side be the object of my subject side's experience? Yes. Like when we're aware, like when we do a meditation, we can use our awareness to look at ourself. Now our subject side is subject side one moment, object side the next. What does that say about the nature of your subject side? Like we're at a really subtle level here to just say, okay, I'm subject side, subject side, subject side. But if I can use that subject side as an object of meditation, that shows me that my subject side, isn't subject side from its own side, or I wouldn't be able to do that. So your subject side will never, your seeds ripening will never have not have a subject side. And that subject side is what we call me. And that subject side always has an object. No, that ripening always has a subject, object, and interaction between. Every seed has those three. So you'll always have a subject side. And the no self nature of that subject side is what allows that subject side to experience itself as fully enlightened being subject side, as opposed to totally suffering samsaric being subject side. Because there's nothing in the subject side that's either fully enlightened being or suffering being in it from it. Those qualities and characteristics are the ripenings, the appearing nature, of which there is subject-object interaction between always. You can't grow old. Huh? You can't be young and get old, and you can't be old and get old. Not at all? No, not at all. I will say from personal experience. 13.6, Elsie, please.
Say a thing that was itself could change into another thing. Then milk could become yogurt. If milk were other than itself, it would already be yogurt.
So he's pointing out to us how we think that milk, like anything, that having its own nature can then be influenced by something else to change into something else. Because we said, I do so exist because I do stuff. So he says, to say that something has its own nature can then change into another thing that has its own nature. If that's true, then milk can become yogurt. But wait a minute, milk can become yogurt. But we looked at that last week, didn't we? We know how it is that milk becomes yogurt. You add the bacteria, you give it the temperature, you give it time, and it becomes yogurt. Changes its qualities, changes its characteristics. And we think that the thing that was there first, milk, had its nature in it. And that part of the nature in it is this possibility to become yogurt if these other factors are present. Like you can't take vegetable oil and add those bacteria and give it time and temperature and have yogurt. You can do it with milk. You can apparently do it with coconuts, and you can apparently do it with tofu, but you can't do it with roller skates. So some things must have more of a nature than others to become yogurt. Like that's what my old world view is insisting. Then that implies that this thing I call milk has the nature of being other than milk at the same time as it has its nature of being milk. And that doesn't seem so absurd, does it? You know, in ignorant life, yeah, milk has the nature of being milk, and it has the nature of becoming butter or yogurt, or I don't know, you could probably wash your floor in milk if you wanted to. But you can't start your car with milk. At what point does the milk become yogurt based on all those other factors? If there's milk there with its own nature, and there's gonna be yogurt there with its own nature, but it takes time for that to come about, isn't there some time within that period of time where some of the milk has become yogurt, but not all of it? Arya Nagarjuna's premise is, if the milk has milk in it and the yogurt has yogurt in it, you should be able to find that time when part of it's yogurt and part of it is milk, and you should be able to separate it out. But can you? No. And then by the time it's all yogurt, there's no milk left at all. The milk actually has to be all gone in order for there to be all yogurt. And it's like, well, you know, let's pinpoint that. That means there's a moment when there's no milk. And how can no milk make yogurt if yogurt comes from milk? So if a thing was itself and could change into another thing, then milk could become yogurt, but milk can't become yogurt. Do we agree with that? No, milk becomes yogurt all the time. No, it doesn't, says Nagarjuna. What's going on when milk becomes yogurt? Appearance of milk, empty appearance of milk, empty appearance of adding bacteria, empty appearance of adding time, empty appearance of having yogurt. Do you get yogurt every time you make yogurt? No, no. I've made some that was inedible, you know, it was acetone. Okay, well then, if milk doesn't have its own nature and yogurt doesn't have its own nature, if milk were other than itself, it would already be yogurt. What? It would already be yogurt. It would already be bread. It would already be trees. Like if it's, if milk is other than milk, like everything that's not milk is other than milk. Can I say that? Everything that's other than milk is not milk. So if milk is other than itself, because we would say, well, if it has no nature of its own and it's something there, it must be something else. If it's in the category of other than milk, because it's not in the category of being milk by itself, then what kinds of things are in the category of other than milk? Milk, bread, cars, wars, right? It would already be all of those things. And we're going, that's absurd, that's crazy. Why are you even talking about that? Because, says Nagarjuna, you think milk becomes yogurt. That's why I'm telling you that that's why I said that. I can't even repeat it. Milk seems to become yogurt, does it? The water seemed to be there, was it? I saw it. But was there water there? Was there a mirage there? Yes. Does milk become yogurt? Yes. From something in the milk and something in the bacteria? No. But technically, yes. Because I can't add ice cream to milk and get yogurt. What is it that makes the bacteria be such that it can turn the what I call milk into what I call yogurt? Right? That's what he's trying to point out. My unique experience. Well, if it's my unique experience, why can't I add ice cream to milk and get yogurt? Because that's not how I work. Yeah, but why doesn't it work that way? Could it work that way? Technically, yes. Practically, no. But not because milk or bacteria or yogurt have any nature of their own. Practically, it works that way because that's what it is to be human. It takes bacteria. It takes what looks like bacteria. It takes the mirage, adding bacteria to milk to get yogurt. That's what it is to be human. Let's go on. I think this is where we left off before. Janet, would you read for us, please?
If there was a fraction of a thing that wasn't empty, we'd have a little emptiness. If there was not a fraction of a thing that wasn't empty, how could there be emptiness?
So if there is a part of me that's not empty of self-nature, then the emptiness that I do have is only partial. Meaning a little emptiness. I like, there'd be a little emptiness missing, actually. But like I'm recognizing in my own mind, it's like, okay, I get that I'm experienced differently by everybody. And I get that I'm experiencing me differently moment by moment. And I see the ramification of that is that, wow, you know, I could be anything for anybody. And it means, wow, I could be anything for me, my own self. And even as I'm doing that, using the words me, I, me, mine, I'm still holding that there is a something of me that's understanding that, that's explaining that, right? There's, yeah, I'm all empty. And just to say it like that leaves us something left that's independent of it. And that's grasping to something still having its own nature, which means it's grasping to something that's not empty. I'm missing a little bit of emptiness. But then, if there's not a fraction of a thing that wasn't empty, how could there be emptiness? Not a fraction of a thing that wasn't empty. Those double negatives are so slippery. If there's a tiny piece of something that has its own nature, that's not empty, how can that thing be empty? Is emptiness a thing over here that we're putting on to whatever the experience is? No. Any appearing thing lacks its nature and quality of being it as we experience the thing in the way that we do. So an appearance is necessarily 100% lacking its nature in it, from it, 100%. Whether we have the whole pen or a half of the pen or just the clicker of the pen, no, any teeny or huge or anywhere in between appearing is 100% empty. If there was any sliver of something that has its own nature, then whatever that sliver of is a part of could also not not have its own nature. It would have to have its own nature. If there's anything that has its own nature, it would mean there's something that's not empty. Why is that a big deal? So who cares if there are some things that aren't empty? As long as I can know that I'm empty. If a samsaric thing has its own nature, can it ever become a non-samsaric thing?
Well, technically, it can't change if it.
Right, exactly.
Technically.
Exactly. So what's the conclusion here? In every moment of our subject-object interaction happening, every aspect of it is the mirage, not the water, not the me seeing water, but the mirage, and nothing but. Appearances and nothing but. Meaning seed ripening results that have no nature of their own. We're trying to find some set of words that when we say it to ourselves, we get this glimpse of this all potential that's in this constant shape shift that's creating moment by moment, instead of our old perception of me with my world coming at me that I have to react to. We're wanting this glimpse of this different picture. Does that mean when we're finally having the experience, oh, you know, I'm moving, I'm part of this mirage and I'm moving through it and I'm creating and creating, that's now how it really is? No, because it isn't like that really. And it's not like this really. It's only the process happening, which we can't really ever say a really, can we? Not in the way that we mean really, which is really how it happens. All right, so we got to the same place as before. So we do have one more class, and we'll go through it faster next class because we did it faster this class. And I promise to give you that meditation at the end.
Can you give us a focus? Because we couldn't remember what the focus was. So if you tell us what it is now, then we'll remember to do it for next week.
Okay. Let's do the focus of when you're in the process of doing something that's very routine, very habitual, making tea, starting your car, whatever. See if you can put yourself into the space of recognizing the water versus the mirage. Right? Our initial experience when we're driving down there is water. There can't be water there. Oh, it's mirage. And when the mirage is there, the water can still be there and not be real water. Let's see if we can get that. The tea that I'm drinking, I'm experiencing mirage. The tea is there, but it's not the way I think. Water mirage. Let's try that. Good suggestion, Janet.
We need all the help we can get.
I do too. My screen share doesn't shut off. I don't know why. So let's do our closing. And then I want to ask, I just want to have a little discussion about if you guys want to do anything together in August, how I can facilitate that. Or if you're just happy to have a month break from Arya Nagarjuna, I'm happy to sit with that too. But let's dedicate first. So remember that person we wanted to be able to help. We learned more how and why, or why and how. We will help them stop their suffering completely someday. And that's really extraordinary. So please be happy with yourself. Think of this goodness like a beautiful glowing gemstone that you can hold in your hands. Recall your own precious holy being. See how happy they are with you? Feel your gratitude to them, your reliance upon them. Ask them to please stay close, to continue to guide you, help you, inspire you. And then offer them this gemstone of goodness. See them accept it and bless it. And they carry it with them right back into your heart. See them there, feel them there. Their love, their compassion, their wisdom. It feels so good, we want to keep it forever. And so we know to share it. By the power of the goodness that we've just done, may all beings complete the collection of merit and wisdom, and thus gain the two ultimate bodies that merit and wisdom make. So use those 3 long exhales to share this goodness with that one person. To share it with everyone you love. To share it with every being you've ever seen or heard of. See them all filled with happiness, filled with the wisdom of loving kindness. And may it be so. All right, I'm going to stop the recording here.